Yo, 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 what's up, y'all? Give me a second to get this going. And let's see how do I want to do this. Go ahead and jump on in while I get this going. Let's see here. Make sure I can keep track of everybody's comments. Go ahead and jump in. We about to get started on the topics. I'm just trying to figure out a way to kind of keep track of everybody's comments because we got YouTube, Facebook, and then Facebook is in different destinations. So give me a second and we'll get this going. That looks like that's not going to work. But go ahead and feed in as we get this going. Pin this to the top of the group. Why don't I see how to do it? Those guys copy link, edit, delete, turn off notifications. Let me see here. Why is this not showing? Oh, there we go. My bad. Welcome to Dog Talk Tuesday Lives. We got a few topics that we're going to jump into. Everybody from YouTube, thanks for joining in. Let me see what comments is showing me today. All right, so Dion from Ohio, exactly. Welcome to the States, Dion. So Dion just got back in the States. If I'm not mistaken, he was teaching over in Taiwan, if I'm not mistaken. I think I'm wrong on that. But welcome back, Dion. Let's see. We got H-Town. Thanks for joining in, man. Jose said, yo, what's up? Let's see here. Here we go. Bam, there we go. So then we got Dion back in here. If you have not gone to StreamYard /Facebook and click that big button, then it won't let me see your name. Sometimes it attaches it to the lives and sometimes it does. That's right, from Thailand. So, 20 years. Damn, I didn't know you were there for that long. That's pretty dope. But welcome back. And then we got Jose say, yo, what's up? What's up, Jose? Thanks for joining in. We are going to get started. We have, 4 topics today. Traits and selective breeding, lose, gain, or maintain for temperament and structure. We had Jaquez Griffin threw up inbreeding. How tight is too tight? And what factors to take into consideration when doing a litter mate breeding. And then Tony Moss threw up researching a pedigree, what to do if you can't find good pigs or lineage, or how to track down lineage's owner, which is a good one because that was the issue we had when we first got into this. And then Brian Cruz said ethical breeding process. So let's go ahead and join in. What's up, Betsy Spirit Rider? Thanks for joining in. So as far now, the comments that you see posted on the screen are because it should catch everything, I'm hoping. So I'm trying to make sure that it's catching everything before I get too relaxed, but I can already see some that it didn't for whatever reasons. So let's see here. But Big Tex, what's up, brother? Thanks for joining in. Who is that? Calvin, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. So we're going to go ahead and get this started. And actually, let me go one more screen so I can make sure that it looks like I've got the group. I've got what StreamYard is willing to catch as far as your comments. I got the group's comments. So now I'm going to go to my page and see if I can catch those also. And hopefully, hold on, let me open this up now where I can catch them. We can go ahead and get this going. For some reason, my page is taking a while to put them up. And let's see. The group, give me a second to get this all squared away so I can catch as many comments as possible. Okay, there goes the group. Yeah, Chris, it looks like I'm doing good today on the internet so far. Let's see. And then we got there we go. So we're good. All right, so let's see here. So yeah, Chris, hopefully we're good today on the internet. So far, so good. Let me see here. Casper said, can you talk about breeding for thick skin or thin skin? I know thick skin is good for working dogs, while thin skin are typically good for show dogs. Yeah, we can go into that. Let's start off with that since I was brand new. Thick skin, one, it is difficult to know whether your dog is thick skin unless you see them in certain situations, or you know when you're dealing with them what you're actually looking for. My Jack Russell was a thick skinned dog. There were times where she would get into it with things and you could actually hear her get punctured when being bit by something. Whereas I noticed with other dogs, I didn't notice that. My Rottweiler, I definitely didn't notice that, even when we were working him, whether it was hogs, whatever it may be. So as far as how to breed for it, typically that comes with dogs that are working. I don't think it's a show dog issue due to the fact that they've got their coat that covers it, and they're not getting into anything where it's an issue with your. So I don't, of course, their skin is probably going to get thinner, but breeding for thick skin is typically a working process. It's something that happens to happen. I don't know that anyone really breeds for it. To breed for thicker skin, I think it's something that as your dogs become more successful, and this is my opinion, but as your dogs become more successful in working, that tends to be one of the things that come with it, especially if they get punctured. Because a lot of times, if we notice a dog has a hard time healing, if you're going to breed for color, you're not going to get thick skin. Dogs that have a hard time healing don't tend to heal as fast as other dogs, don't tend to take as many injuries as fast as other dogs, or as extreme as other dogs, tend to, over time being bred to each other, create thicker, more durable skin. So I don't know. That's a dope question because I've never had, I've had discussions as far as thick skin, but never had discussions as far as how to, with anyone on how to actually breed for it. And I think it's one of those things that just, like I said, it just comes with the process of working animal. And of course, your animal, in order to achieve that, it's not going to be able to do, protection work. Is going to need to be doing work where the skin does get punctured. And you're going to have to be able to judge, how did this dog heal compared to how my last dog healed? Why is this dog getting so many facial strips? Because some dogs are going to get scarred up a lot just because they're so in there. If it's hog hunting, bobcat, coyote, whatever it may be that you're hunting, raccoon, it could just be the way they go about it that they get scarred. Other dogs can get hit what you saw another dog get hit with, but for some reason this dog didn't seem to take the same injury that the last dog took. So that is a dope question that I will admit I don't really have an answer for, other than I think it is just part of the working process, and you making sure that as you're working that dog, you're paying attention to the healing process. One of the things I do pay attention to is the healing aspect, and how long one injury took to heal compared to other injuries in other dogs. But I've never thought about is the breeding aspect of that. We tend to just breed success with success and overlook some of those minor details that get us to that success. But that's a dope question, and that's something I'm definitely going to look into. Let's see. Somebody else here said, good evening, peoples. What's up? Thanks for joining in. I'll try to catch you on one of these other tabs I got open and make sure we got you. And Chris Cruz said, can we exercise and put muscle on the dog's front and back limbs or leg to make it look thicker? Yes, you can. What is that? No, no, that's a game changer. Um, we'll figure that out. Yeah, this is about to be a great live. What's up, y'all? No, I'm just kidding. We just got a check out of nowhere. But anyway, back to the topics. Um, can we exercise and put muscle on on a dog, front or back limbs or leg to make it look thicker? Yes, you can. And not only can you do that, and we'll get to the rest of the topics, but not only can you do that to make it look thicker, you can also do that to correct if you have stiff stifles. Let me take that back. You won't correct it, but you will be able to add a little more angulation to it. And let me throw that question up. I can't throw that up because it's not showing on StreamYard. Let me see. Yes, it is showing up. Okay, so this stuff is coming out of place. As far as your front, so we'll deal with the front first, and then we'll deal with the back second. As far as your fronts, heels are one of the best things. Uphill does tend to work your back end more. But when you're walking your dog, if you've got hills, if the only place you can find hills is somewhere where you got to keep your dog on leash, walk up the hill slow, and you'll put more weight on the back end and work the back end more. When you get to level ground, walk fast. I'm sorry, I take that back. When you're on level ground, walk fast. When you're going uphill, walk fast. You will begin putting more pressure on the rear end of the dog, along with the shoulders, somewhat as far as the shoulders go. So when you get to the level ground, then you want to make sure. And remember, it doesn't matter whether it's a slight incline, a steep incline. Of course, the steeper the better. But even if it's just a slight incline, walk fast when you hit that. That way you're putting more pressure on the dog to get a good workout. And then when you're going downhill, walking your dog, walk slower than your normal pace. And what that causes the dog to do is the dog has to wear its shoulder muscles a lot more. Another thing, I have a video where you can see Cardi, she's doing hill runs. We just got this hill by us. It's probably about 3 stories high. And I throw the ball to the top. She runs up it. She brings it back down. The only thing with hill runs is, depending on how steep your hill is, make sure that you're not start off, a quarter of the way up the hill, halfway up the hill. You want to get your dog experienced on coming down the hill so that they don't injure themselves. So start off, slight, work your way up. Pay attention to how your dog's going about doing it, and then take it all the way to the top. The not so much the slate mill, the slap mill, but the carpet mill is another one as far as working the rear and the front on your dog. Carpet mill takes a little more muscle for the dog to get going, whereas the slap mill is more about speed and stamina. The carpet mill is more about strength, power. So that's another one, using a carpet mill. What else? The rear, also your spring pole. Make sure that your dog's rear is, especially with these big XLs, for those who are, and I know we got people who are breeding pits that join in. We also got a couple dogo breeders that join in. People from Dogs of Grit, plus from Giant XL American Bully Breed Group. If you've got a dog, I would say, I mean, you could do it with any dog, but especially dogs that are ranging from 70 pounds on up. You don't want them hanging from your spring pole. So make sure their rear is touching the ground, and then or their back feet are touching the ground. Front legs up, back legs down. And then the workout that they do from there not only strengthens the back, it's not going to do anything from the front. It will work the neck, it will work the jaws, but it's not going to do anything as far as the shoulders that much. But the pulling and everything they're going to be doing is going to work their back along with their rear. So that's another one. Swimming is another good one. What else? There's a lot of methods. Those are some of the basic ones. I like to stick with simple stuff that causes me to be hands-on and have to really observe my dog to see what it is they're doing and how they're going about doing it. Let's see, but hit me up anytime on that. I'm trying to think of something else. Of course, your flirt pole is going to work the front end, but if you're working it properly, a lot of people are just flipping and flopping the flirt pole around. If you work your flirt pole like a cat mill is another one that'll work your dog. But if you're working your flirt pole like a cat mill and you're keeping the lure at head level or slightly above. The dog's going to have to run, and it's going to work more muscle in its shoulders, its chest. When you change directions, do about 5 times counterclockwise, 5 times counterclockwise. When you change directions, you will notice, and I've spoken on this before, if your dog is right-footed, meaning that every time your dog gets up, the first foot it steps with to start walking is its right foot, then that dog is going to feel more comfortable running in circles clockwise because it's comfortable pivoting off of that stronger foot. If you go counterclockwise, then the dog is going to want to cut you off when you when you're working your flirt pole in a circle. So if you're working your flirt pole counterclockwise, then your right-footed dog is going to want to hit more angles, and that's when you're going to see it jumping a lot and doing a lot of things that people like to see with the flirt pole. It's also going to try to head you off so that you've got to change directions back. But if you're going clockwise with a right-footed dog, you'll be able to get your dog to run in circles. That'll work its front. It'll also work its rear. And then, of course, if you go counterclockwise, you're going to work the muscle slightly different as the dog tries to use more timing. Another thing, fetch. A lot of people do fetch, but they just do it, throw it straight, dog brings it back, throw it straight, dog brings it back. Get creative with your games of fetch. I always mix in, throwing it as far as I can, the dog running straight, bringing it back. That's cool. But you can also, if you bounce the ball off of walls, trees, whatever you think you can hit with that ball, aim at it. Get your dog to change directions. That's going to work muscles. If you throw the ball straight up in the air, and never, when you're playing fetch, always look the same until that last second. That way your dog doesn't know what to expect. Keeps the dog's mind running, keeps the dog's mind fluid so they can function when it's in various situations. Its brain gets used to. Same thing, my son trains for MMA. I train him on his striking. He goes to the gym to work on his wrestling. But my focus with him is always fluid, not only movement, but fluid thought. Don't stutter. You know what I'm saying? Don't get caught up, not even for a split second. So the more you can look like you're going to throw the ball straight, but throw it different directions at that last second, your dog's gonna never know what to expect, but it's got to operate quickly, and it's gonna eventually your dog's mind is just gonna be moving fluid. You will get a more intelligent dog doing that. You will also notice when you start doing that, other things change with the dog as far as obedience, things that it had a hard time grasping. Now it's a little more confident in using its brain. And but if you throw the ball straight up, what you're causing the dog to do is go a little lower on its rear and up on its hind. You're going to tend to get the dog to jump. That's another way to work the rear end. To work the front end when you're playing fetch, get that dog used to doing everything. Bounce the ball. The chuck it ball is one of my favorite. It's the one that's orange with the blue stripe, because the dog, especially when they're young and it doesn't hit that ball right, that ball hit there too and just bounces off just as fast as damn near as when you threw it. So it keeps the dog going. But if you throw the ball right in front of the dog, let the ball hit the ground, bounce up, what you will notice is that the dog will kind of do a push-up as the ball goes to the ground and then push back up to go wherever it needs to go as the dog has to, go after the ball. So from off of that bounce, that's another way to work the front end of the dog, is by bouncing the ball off the ground. But you got to mix it up when you're playing fetch. But those are some pretty good ways that you can definitely work that front end. Let's see here. Betsy said, does whether it's loose or not have any bearing on thickness? No. You do have dogs with tight skin, but it's thick. So, you have dogs with thick skin, but it's tight. So it makes it a little more easier to puncture. The pit bull is one. You have dogs with loose skin, like a Shar-Pei, Neapolitan Mastiff. But the Shar-Pei, people don't like to admit it, but they started off as fighting dogs. The reason they had the wrinkles was not for looks. It was creating loose skin so that other dogs would grab it, and the Shar-Pei would still be able to maneuver. While those dogs were just shaking a mouthful of skin and fur, the Shar-Pei was still able to maneuver. Unfortunately for the Shar-Pei, it still was not able to dominate the bull and terrier breeds. But the Shar-Pei is a dog that, at least of the last 100 or so years did have somewhat, actually, they'd probably go back a little further, but it was a dog that did have thick skin, but also had loose skin. So loose and thickness do not, you can have loose skin and still it be thick. You can have tight skin and it be thick. Let's see. H-Town said, I have a blue tri female. And let's see, I have a blue tri female. And the breeder that I got her from says she's a quad carrier. I don't even know what that is. Have you ever heard about a bully being a quad carrier? No. And that sounds like you might be on the next new frontier of bullies. I've never heard about that. I'm not into all the little alleles and genetics and all that other stuff. So I've never heard of that. I don't know what it means. I'm assuming that means there's a fourth color on there. But even tri is different. When I think of tri, I think of a Beagle, Jack Russell, not the markings, but just the fact that they've got, smack. But I think of, my bad, y'all. So I think of three colors. You look at a Beagle, you look at a Jack Russell, they don't necessarily have tri markings, but when they're tri, what they do have, some of them do, but most don't. And what they do have is just mismatched three colors. That's kind of like a cow pattern, I guess. That's what I think of when I call tri. Anytime I see the markings, I think of black and tan. But I've never heard of quad. Never heard of it. Mr. J, what's up, brother? Thanks for joining in, man. Let's see here. Mr. J is joining in from YouTube. Let's see what else we got. I appreciate you from the Chris. I didn't know you were in the Philippines, brother. I had no idea. Thanks for joining in, dude. DeAndre, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. And let's see. Mike B's got a question. First time making love. Thanks for all the great info you have. I don't know how you or what you was trying to word with that. Okay. There we go. Let's throw up the correction. Haha, I meant first time making the live, not making. No problem. Thanks for joining in, Mike. Hopefully tonight you can make love too. But let's see here. Yes, my bad. Casper, thanks. You guys joining in, make sure that you're liking the live. I'm not sure how that works. I know it affects algorithms, and people always tell me you need to tell people to share. You need to tell people to make sure they like your live. And I just forget about that stuff. But yeah, definitely make sure you're liking the live. Make sure you're sharing, whether you're on Facebook or whether you're on YouTube. If you're on Facebook within the group, you probably won't be able to share it. If you're on Facebook from my page or something that was shared from my personal page, then you should be able to share it. All right, let me make sure I haven't missed anything else. And looks like we got all that. And as far as on my page, let's see here. Okay, Northern Edge, what's up, brother? Thanks for joining in. I'm going to try to make sure I didn't miss anything. Luke, what's up, brother? Thanks for joining in, man. Let's see here. Daryl D-Line Canada. What's up, Northern Edge? Thanks for joining in. And my dumbass never put that together with Northern Edge Canada. Let's see. Yes, sir. Relaunch is coming very soon. Website is all okay. So check out Northern Edge. He's about to get his website and everything going. Then he says, what is your honest opinion on spring pole for dogs under a year? Yay or nay? I say yay, but start them off with all 4 feet on the ground based off of their weight. I have a lot of people use like these 5-foot long spring poles. I'm not a fan of that. I prefer a 10-foot long spring pole. But let me see here if I can find your comment. And it's not showing up on here. I prefer a 10-foot long spring pole. What I do like the shorter 5-foot long spring poles is I will take a stick or a metal pipe that I can dig into the ground, and I will take that spring pole and stick it over that, and then let pups just kind of pull on that. And I like to get something, PVC pipe that's a little more thinner and a little more flexible, and it could bend. I'll show you guys the one that I have later on. But I say go for it. Get them used to it with your spring pole. Just make sure that all fours are on the ground. You don't want them jumping and anything like that when they're under, but when that, from that up to about 9 months to a year, you're starting to get into the point where you can start working them a little harder. Under that, their growth plates are not fully together yet and developed. So at that age, you just more want to just chill with them. But as far as the flirt pole, yeah, get them something. Even if their fronts are a little bit off the ground, you know what I'm saying? If it's holding their feet, a little bit off the ground, we'll say even the length of a hand. That's cool. You know what I'm saying? Because they'll pull it to the point where they can start getting their fronts. But other than that, you want them to stay close to the ground. And like I said, anything over 70 pounds, I try to avoid letting them actually get hang time. I do have a video where Cardi was right around 100 pounds and she gets a little hang time as she's on the flirt pole. We just did it once because me and my son were sitting out chilling. But other than that, I try to avoid that at all costs. All right, here. So let's get into today's topics. I think we hit everybody's comment questions. Today's topics. First one, ethical breeding process. The bully community and the internet communities, or the bully community and the social media community, is an extremely unethical community. And because social media works so fast, people don't get enough time to use logic and their own ethics. Next thing you know, they're caught off guard and they're caught up into this way of existing that is unethical and don't even realize it as lines get blurred and then lines get crossed. When it comes to ethical breeding process, I think the thing that people can always do, regardless of what you see on social media, regardless of what you see some bully breeders doing, to stay grounded, 100% think about the species. You got wolves, you got wild dogs in Africa, you got Basenjis, when you start getting into the breeds, you got all these variations of canid species and canines, and that's what governs our dogs. So when they decided they wanted to underbite on the bulldog, the species said, okay, we'll give you that. When they decided they want a flatter face to produce this cute little English bulldog, the species said, okay, then you're not going to be able to breathe as well as the rest of us. You're also not going to be able to function as well as the rest of us. Matter of fact, we're going to make it to the point where you can't even breed naturally. The species is what governs these dogs because they went too long. Man has only been involved with this for maybe around 20,000 years. We started creating breeds and actually trading about 15,000 years ago. So we haven't been a part of this long enough to govern what governs our dogs. So the species is what governs our dogs. And I think no matter what breed you get into, if you fall in love with the pug, the bulldog, the English bulldog, I don't care what it is, as long as you're thinking about the species first and then balancing that with the breed, you're going to be breeding ethically regardless of what it is you breed. When you start to get to the point, I want more mass, but you're ignoring the greyhound, the golden retriever, the German shepherd, the bull mastiff, who carries a lot of mass but is still extremely healthy. When you start doing that and you're ignoring it, you're starting to create problems. I had a discussion with yesterday, actually, with what's his name, Khan, and I were kind of going back and forth. He was under the feeling that there's no such thing as too much mass as long as the dog's structure is in place. And one, you have to remember that structure also has to do with height and leg length is a lot of what these dogs are about, all dogs. So when you start shortening those legs and then you start putting on more mass, you are going to end up with a less healthier dog because the species governs it that way. You're going to have a dog that is putting a lot more weight on its joints. You're going to start having a lot more pressure on the heart, the veins, pumping blood. All these things are going to take effect. So when it comes to breeding ethically, I think the way we balance it is by, the species ability. My English bulldog doesn't have to run as fast as a greyhound or be built like a greyhound. But I've got to respect the greyhound because they're two of the same species. When I'm breeding, because I'm man, this isn't nature doing this. I'm man. So I've got to respect the greyhound and what benefits the greyhound. And what am I doing that my dog is that I'm breeding is not going to benefit from? And then respect that. Be honest to the people that you're selling it to. That is all part of ethics. American bullies, we know they have a huge allergy issue with these dogs. One of the things when my cousin and I first realized that, we wanted to breed the dogs that didn't have allergy issues. Luckily, in our litters, we haven't had allergy issues. But what happens with and the reason lines get blurred when when it comes to ethics is because there's so many band-aids. So rather than a vet saying, okay, you got a dog with allergy issues, here's your pill, but now don't breed that dog, or make sure you breed that dog to dogs that don't have allergy issues. I just had one in here yesterday. I'll call him. The vet doesn't say nothing. They just give you a pill, and then you continue on breeding. Next thing you know, and you can look at the bully community. What do we have? We have a whole bunch of people talking about how great of a relationship they have with their vet. Before I got into bullies, it didn't matter what I was breeding. I didn't have no great relationship with my vet because I didn't see the vet. There was no need for me to. Now, granted, a lot of that was, I stitch them up. I know what to do as far as herbs and, fruits, vegetables, to do what I need to do as far as different healing methods, or if I see something going the wrong way, to bring it back the right way. But I didn't need a vet. In my mind, I think since I was like 15, a vet was for like major surgeries. If you were in a town where you didn't have a feed store, so you couldn't get shots, and therefore you had to get your yearly shots, then yeah, you go to a vet for your yearly shots. To me, that's what a vet is great for. That way I'm cool with my city and everything's taken care of. And they're not questioning it. But we're in a new world now where everybody throws band-aids on illnesses. My dog is allergic to grain, so therefore they start making grain-free food. But if your dog's allergic to grain, then what does that mean? It means he's got allergy issues. If he's got allergy issues, what does that mean? He's got a lower immune system. The vet tells you get a grain-free food. He doesn't tell you, but get the grain-free food for your dog. But in your next breeding, make sure you breed to a dog that can eat Old Roy and have no issues. You see what I'm saying? So ethics is, I'm one that tends to think it's not up for interpretation, but I think we have a society that tries to create a world that is up for interpretation. The way I look at it is this: there's only one right answer to 1 + 1. Okay, we all know it's 2. But there's an infinity of wrong answers. And the internet gives those wrong answers, those wrong philosophies, those wrong people, those wrong breeders, and those wrong ways of thinking the ability to come together and flourish. So, luckily, I can come up with a subject, go on Google, and find wrong answers all day long. I can come up with a subject, go on Google, and not even be able to find that subject. But it's because I've been dealing with dogs for so long. We know there's a purpose drive in a dog, but you have a hard time finding that on Google. We know there's an inquisitive drive in a dog that fades away right around 6 months and then kind of turns into the actual overall intelligence of the dog. But you'll have a hard time. I don't think you'll find that on Google. But for people who are less experienced, and the other thing is, Google, you type in a topic, you get that topic. I come from an age before the internet where if I wanted to learn about a dog's toes, I had to buy a book on dog anatomy. So I might go to the chapter, look in the index, find the part on toes, and then I read that. But guess what? Eventually, I'm going to start reading the other parts of the book. But with the internet, when you see people talking and they're conversating, and that's kind of one thing I have to learn, is not to go back and forth with dummies that know a lot about a little bit. And we all get caught up in it. But that's kind of, my cousin and I were talking about that the other day, and it's like, I'm gonna just stick to giving 1, 2 responses, and then I'm out and done. But when it comes to arguing or debating with people, cool debate, that's cool. But people look for angles to get disrespected, to be disrespectful on the internet, and that's another new thing that people are into nowadays. But like I said, so when it comes to ethical breeding, this is a hard place to keep it. I would say one of the things that you can use to keep you grounded, and like I said, the guy and I who were talking about mass on dogs yesterday, he's a show breeder. He's got a grand champion. He's accomplished everything he thinks there is to accomplish in the dog world until he steps out into that dog world and he looks at these dogs and what they're truly accomplishing. Some of that shit the dogs accomplish don't come with ribbons. It don't come with trophies. Nobody even sees it except for their owner. And sometimes the owner misses it. I had a situation where my Jack Russell, I thought she was inside. Turned out she was outside. We heard this fighting going on, and she was going head up with this big, huge raccoon and getting in his ass. That's an accomplishment. I had to let the other dogs out, of course, but had I not, I don't know how it started. I was there. I wasn't there. I've also come out in the yard when I knew she was out there, come make her come back inside, and she done killed something that I don't know how her 15-pound butt was able to kill. That's an accomplishment. There's no ribbon for it. There's no trophy for it. Hog hunting. You got a successful dog hog hunting. You got a dog that's never done protection training. You don't take it out to get, to the trials and all that other stuff. But somebody breaks in your home. Your dog rips them a new one. That's an accomplishment. But there's no trophies for it. There's no ribbons for it. There's no pictures for you to post on Facebook. So don't get caught up in that world of Facebook. Every now and then you guys will see me get caught up going back and forth with somebody, and then bam, I'll go ahead and hit them with some pictures to prove the work that my dogs have done. But there's no real, when it's all said and done, afterwards, I'm like, did I really just go through my phone looking for that picture? My wife's been begging me for the last 10 years to go in the garage and get some stuff that she wanted. Why am I going to go in there to get some pictures for somebody on Facebook to prove something that they don't believe? And they probably do believe it, but they just want you to run and use up energy. So it's difficult when it comes to ethics. But again, I will say when it comes to ethical breeding, look at your breed standard. Look at the breed type of the dogs. Those are two different things. This is a new breed, so make sure that you have a lot of respect for the breed standard. And then from there, when you understand what they're aiming for with the breed standard, you get what the overall breed type is, which is basically the looks of the dogs that you see, whether they be online or out in the world for the American Bully. Decide what it is you want, and then from there, when you say, okay, I want more mass, what is it when you want more mass that you're going to be losing that the species has? And I think that has to be respected above all things. And I think that's where we lose track. But ethics is a difficult subject. Let's see what we got here. Mr. J said, I would rehab African wild dogs if I could. They're amazing. I agree. And what are they? They're the first Merle. I agree 100%. And they don't need vets. They don't need genetic testing. They breed Merle to Merle, and they do just fine. But they also somehow don't get Merle by the head, by the eyes, and the ears. So, yes, I agree with you. I think we do need to bring some African wild dogs, especially into our Merle American Bullies. Jose said, I see a lot of people putting up studs at 1 year old. Is that too young since you can't do OFA testing till 2? OFA testing is big for hips, but here's the thing about hips. A lot of hip issues when it comes to hip dysplasia is environmental and not genetic. There are people who have issues with hip dysplasia, all of a sudden start putting their puppies on egg crates. I had a guy that had a female, and I was young, but he had a female that had hip issues. And he bred her. He wanted to know what he could do. And I was like, it's too late. But what you can do is, and it was a pit bull. I showed him how I was talking about last week, where you kind of give yourself the same grounding with a small kiddie pool. You put that fitted sheet over the top of it, and you start letting those pups, as soon as they start moving around before their eyes even open, and you put them on that and start letting them move around on there. And his dog passed its OFA test. I don't remember what the score was or how it was done, but the dog was fine. So a lot of it is environmental. So somebody may have hip issues with a dog or not pass OFA testing, but it's not necessarily their genetics. It's the environment, the upkeep of the dog. People, now the big thing is I want to be able to clip my dog's toenails without issues. So start them early, start clipping them early. Well, you shouldn't be clipping your dog's nails till they're about, I say, 4 weeks old, because they need those nails for traction. And those nails spread. They don't just go straight forward. They go a little bit to the sides, and they need that for traction. But we start clipping them early. And, because we want to have a 10-year-old dog that lets us clip his nails without having to, do Brazilian jiu-jitsu to get it done. But those puppies need that, so they need traction. My favorite thing is a lot of towels and blankets just spread out, but also have some underneath that are kind of crumbled up, so that the surface is off and the puppy has to learn to use its legs straight. From Rottweilers to King Corsos. I remember my cousin Aaron, which is my kennel partner, his last King Corso breeding, he had two of his clients actually did OFA testing on the dogs. They came out perfectly fine, but Aaron also knows how to keep up, the foundation of those young pups. So a lot of it is, foundational. As far as promoting a stud at 1 year, I don't have a problem with it, because you do have a decent idea of its overall look, especially if you know how that blood goes or it's your production. We've been showing pictures of our males, but not promoting them as studs, because they're still developing. King didn't stop, growing until he was about 2.5 to 3 years old. So, it's a good question. So it depends on the blood of the dog, how fast, its parents, especially its father, grew. And if you're looking at a stud, when did he actually peak, and what did he look like from 1 year to 2 years old? So that depends on the dog a lot. Let's see here. Facebook user said, I'm planning on taking a Mandela daughter to a Denzel son, okay, for my first breeding. What are your thoughts on that? Standard/pocket, but mainly standard. I like both dogs by Terrell. I think Terrell is nobody I respect in the community, due to the fact that he is very steadfast on what the bully should and should not be. He's one of the first people I ever heard say, fuck your vision. Stick to the standard, And I would say a Mandel daughter to a Denzel son is probably going to get you something good. The only thing, when you say Mandel daughter, what did her mom look like? And when you say Denzel son, what did his mother, look like? So take that into account. But to me, I would need to see, the flaws, and, I'd have to see the dog to really give a true opinion on that. Are you the one up in Canada? Me, I think Betsy's talking to somebody else. I'm in LA, California. Let's see what else we got going on. All right, so back to the topic. As far as ethics, like I said, sum that up. Study your standard, understand it, look at the dogs that fit it, view your breed type that goes along amongst the breed, because you don't necessarily have to breed to the standard. You definitely have to breed towards breed type. And then think about the species. So when you get a certain idea in your head, look at the species, what the species, like I said, governs the breed. It's going to tell you what you're going to do, what you can do, what you can't do, what you're going to lose, and so study the species, understand dogs as much as you possibly can. So if you want to make it shorter, taller, longer, shorter back, You want to add wings, whatever it is, respect the species, and you should be able to do it ethically. Because the species is going to tell you you can't add wings, and therefore you won't, and therefore you'll be doing it ethically. I think also ethically is be honest with your other breeders you deal with when it comes to breeding. You know, if you've had issues with your dogs, make sure those other breeders are aware of it. If you're breeding to their dogs, make sure that, you know, customers that are getting dogs from you, if you've had issues, allergies, temperament, whatever it may be honest about it. Let's see. So the next topic came from Tony Moss, researching the pedigree, what to do if you can't find good picks or lineage, or how to track down lineage owners. Very good question. That was one of the problems that we had when we got into bullies. What you're going to want to do is use the internet, use your telephone. Most dogs, if you put their name on Google plus add American Bully to the end of it, you will end up finding that dog to get as many pictures and hopefully videos as possible. Jump on Facebook, do the exact same thing. Type that dog's name, that kennel, see what conversations come up about that dog. See who's talking about that dog. Hit those people up, ask them questions. And remember, it's Facebook, so you might find something from 3 years ago. If you leave a comment, it's going to pop back up on people's timeline. You see what I'm saying? So that's the best advice I can give you. We had that issue. You know, we have a Hope granddaughter who is a Kobe daughter. One of the reasons we knew we wanted a purpose-driven temperament, we saw how, and we wanted also a cool temperament. Now she's a little hot, but she's a daughter off of Kobe. You see what Kobe does. It was easy to go to YouTube and Google, you know, Dark Dynasty Canine and find pictures and videos of Hulk and Kobe. You know, she is from Bully Blue Giants. Her mom is from Bully Blue Giants. They're respected in the American bully world. It was easy to get a hold of people. We didn't have to even call them. You know, it was easy to get a hold of their customers, ask questions. They got pictures of the kid. You know, we wanted temperament. We wanted a dog that could be about that action, but still have a good temperament. So we wanted to see pictures with kids. Cardi Bull, her parents constantly around children. As a puppy, she was around children. With me, she's around children. I still, you know, condition her. I push her. You know what I mean? For her size and bone density, she is extremely athletic, extremely hard driven, and it's whatever it is you want to do, she wants to do it at 150%. But some of those signs we were able to see in videos. When you talk to these breeders, make sure they're sending you videos with them in the video. So you can see the dog's temperament. If they got video, now you might sound crazy saying, well, I want to see a video of your dog and your kid. That might sound crazy to a breeder. If you told me that and I've got like a 6-year-old daughter, I might say, you know what, I'm not selling you a dog. I don't know where this is going. But at the same time, if it's a breeder and their family's involved, you should see kids around those dogs automatically. So look for those things. And that's the best advice that I can give on that. The name of the dog, the word American Bully, put it in Google, put it in YouTube, put it in Facebook, put it in Instagram, put it in every type of search engine that you can find so that you can get as much info. You put it in Facebook, you're going to see conversations about it, and you can hit those people up individually. You can even leave a comment to make that conversation pop back up on all those people's timeline. And I would say that's the best way. Once you pinpoint your dog, if it's possible, definitely fly out to go see the dog before you start giving up any money. Next topic came from Jacquees Griffin. Inbreeding. How tight is too tight? What factors to take into consideration when doing a litter mate breeding? A lot of you know my Jack Russell even Floyd was an inbred dog. So Floyd's mother was an old family red-nosed pit bull, Norrod line. Floyd's father, though, was old family red-nosed pit bull, Norrod line, and half boxer. Then they took the father, though, happened to be the mother's son, and they bred him back to the mother, which is what produced that litter that a lot of us use for patchwork. And that's how I got Floyd. So that was an inbreeding. My Jack Russell, though, was tightly inbred, line bred. So she was line bred, then inbred. Then they did a line breeding. Then they did an inbreeding from the line breeding. And that's what produced my Jack Russell. So if you go to her and you look at her, you'll notice that if you go see her on my page, you'll notice, and actually you could just type in Fox Boogie on Facebook, and she'll more than likely pop up, especially if you attach my name to it. But if you see pictures of her, she's a very bully Jack Russell. She's was very muscular, short limbed, extremely high driven. So when it comes to inbreeding, first thing first, you want to start line breeding before you go into inbreeding, so that you can start seeing what you're getting. You don't want to do, you can use line breeding to start locking in traits and also to fix things. You don't want to do, hold on, where are we? You don't want to do any inbreeding until you have perfection. Okay. Inbreeding is mother to son, father to daughter, and then, or brother to sister. That's inbreeding. Everything outside of that is line breeding. Line breeding, you want close to perfection with small traits that need to be fixed. So let's say I've got a lot of things I need to, let's say I got 3 or more things I need to fix on my dog. Then I don't want to be, line breeding might be okay, but I definitely don't want to do any inbreeding. If you're down to 2, but you more than likely want to outcross to fix that. Now, let's say I've got 1 to 2 issues, flaws with my dog. At that point, you're still line breeding. If I got 1 issue with my dog, that's when you want to start thinking about doing an inbreeding, because you want to lock in everything else. You're still going to lock in that 1 issue. You might luck up and get it fixed out of there, but then you're going to need to outcross it to something that does not have that issue. All those traits that you locked in. So let me give a better example. Let's say my issue in my yard is Easty Westy. Okay. So you've got dogs that are, your main dog is Easty Westy. So you go ahead, let's say he's your stud, and you got a female that's got perfect straight feet. You're going to breed them together. You're going to create pups. You're going to take the best out of those pups. Easty Westy is still in those pups. Even though they may not show Easty Westy, they still are going to have the ability to produce it, because I think I said it was going to be their dad, because their dad had it. Okay. So you want to start getting further and further away from that. Now, if you bred that female to another male, you can breed those dogs to your pup that you just got rid of the Easty Westy on, to start getting rid of that Easty Westy. Then you can start doing line breeding. That's going to help you lock it in and help you get it more consistently. When the Easty Westy is gone, but let's say one of your other issues besides Easty Westy was, let's say, splayed feet, splayed toes, okay? Or actually high rear. So you got the Easty Westy taken care of, but you're still getting these high rears. Hopefully, as you were breeding out the Easty Westy, you were also looking to breed out the high rears at the same time. But now you're going to go ahead and you're going to focus on it. And I always say you should be examining dogs feet up, tail forward. So if you're trying to figure out what order to go, yes, feet up, tail forward. A lot of people have back feet but want a big head. Don't do that. Get your feet corrected first, then go to the head. The head is last, okay? Because you're working on the structure of the dog, not human preference. But so now you want to fix these high rears. So now I've done it. I'm doing line breedings. I've corrected the Easty Westy. I'm getting my rears down, but I need something a little bit more. Then I don't want to do an inbreeding. I'm going to outcross to a dog that has a good rear. I'm going to take the best from that's got a good rear, and I'm going to breed that back to my dogs that have good rears and good feet. And then at that point is when I'll think about inbreeding. Inbreeding should not take place until you have perfection. Inbreeding exists for one thing, and that's to lock it in. So that you can now breed to other dogs and still push your traits, especially if they're other bloodlines, and definitely if they're scatterbred. And the best way to look at it is this. You've got these dogs running around in the wild, and all of a sudden somebody decides, I'm going to start breeding them. It takes 5 to 7 generations plus two, take two breeds, and you breed them, line breed and inbreed for 5 to 7 generations, and that's how you create a breed. Funny thing is, that's the same way you create a bloodline within a breed. Take two different bloods or scatterbred dogs, and you line breed and you inbreed for 5 to 7 generations, and now you got a bloodline. What makes a breed? What makes a bloodline? A breed becomes a breed when it has a different look and a different temperament than the dogs that were used to create it. What makes a bloodline? A bloodline is when a dog has a different look and a different temperament than the bloods that were used to create it. So you can take scatterbred dogs, or you could take two other bloodlines. So when you create your bloodline, you're looking at 5 to 7 generations. In order to lock something in, it takes 5 to 7 generations. So if you've got issues, you're getting you're knocking out all these flaws in your dog. You're getting the things that you want out of your dog. You're looking at your dog, and you know what? This female is perfect, and her son is perfect. I don't like female to son breedings unless she's extremely perfect. And there's no such thing as perfect within anything, especially dogs. But if you've got a great female, she produces a great son. You've got a great stud, and he produces a great female. You got two dogs that are siblings, and you got a sister and brother. I don't think sister-brother breedings are necessary because it took two parents to make them, so one of them should have been just as perfect as the brother. But let's say it's not. Out of this litter, you did this inbreeding, or you did this breeding, and you got brother and sister, and they both came out perfect. Go ahead, you do that inbreeding to lock it in. Now you're gonna have to make sure you outcross. The reason you do inbreedings is to lock it in, not to fix things. It's to lock it in so that you can breed to other dogs and help their yards. You can breed to other dogs and push your traits, your look, your temperament through. And that's what inbreeding is all about. Inbreeding, and if you do it that way, if you do your inbreeding and then you go to a distant line breeding like an aunt and uncle, you should be fine. But the best thing to do after you've done your inbreeding is to try to find a dog that is totally unrelated to yours. Hopefully is from the lineage of a true bloodline, but has all the features that you like about your dog. This dog has it. You breed those two together, and that's when a lot of times we get what we call hybrid vigor. And it's just you get something that you couldn't imagine that is better than both parents, both bloods. But that's what you're looking for. So like even with my Jack Russell, she was tightly line bred and inbred. The objective for her was to find a male that was not tightly line bred and inbred, but had the same drive or higher drive than she did. So think about that when it comes to your inbreedings. Don't be in a rush to inbreed. You figure if it takes 5 to 7 generations to create a breed, to create a bloodline, then that means 4 to 5 of those generations is line breeding. Okay. Then you get your perfection, and then you do your inbreeding. Okay. So think of it that way. Then last, traits in selective breeding: lose, gain, or maintain for temperament and structure. We've kind of talked about temperament before when it comes to breeding. And actually, hold on, before we get into my topic, let me get back in to make sure I didn't miss comments, because I know I did. See, Betsy says something about peanut butter. Let's see. Okay, so that's the Mandela comment. Betsy said peanut butter on a lick thing works wonders. I've been seeing that, Betsy, where people are taking saran wrap, wrapping it around their head, putting the peanut butter on the saran wrap, and then while the dog's licking the peanut butter off of their forehead, they're cutting the nails. I have not tried it yet. I'm been trying to convince my wife or kids to do it first. They won't, because Cardi Bull is not that bad. My old man Floyd, even though he's going on 14 years old, it's some work clipping his nails. You know, it's a true wrestling match. He knows it's coming. I know it's coming, and it gets down and dirty to clip his nails. Another person said, I'm not sure who this is, said, I won't stub my boy out until after I accomplish a couple litters in house so I can see what he throws. But that's the best thing to do. With King, we were able to look at everything his father was throwing was pretty consistent. We were able to see what his mother threw with other dogs. We were able to see what his father threw with other dogs. So it was easy to look at that litter and imagine what that litter was going to throw. King brought the best of that. Plus, he was bigger than every pup in the litter. He was actually one of the smallest pups in the litter. My cousin saw some things he recognized. I didn't believe him, but he was 100% correct. And King ended up being the largest pup in the litter. Not only that, he's larger than his father. If you look at our productions, they're now 11 months old. They're big, big dogs. Now, Cardi Bull brings down a little bit of height. So we're looking to see, you know, how that's going to turn out because Keenan stopped growing until he was about 3 years old. Cardi Bull stopped growing right around 2. So we know between 2 and 3 is when these dogs will start, you know, stop developing as much. Um, but you know, we know what King can throw at this point, you know, by looking at it. King's last litter, he's blue and white. We bred him to a black. This is going to be an interesting one because she's a black pocket female. King is a beyond XL. King is what double XL style dog. He's one of the biggest XLs there is in the game. And we took that. The pups came out great. I forget how many came out black, but we kept one black pup, T'Challa. He's about 9 weeks old, I think, right now. Structure so far is great. Again, he's only 9 weeks old, so we're waiting to see how he develops and how he turns out. But we like the fact of having an offspring of King in all black. He's all black, so we're waiting to see how he turns out. But you know, King has pretty much showed us through the traits passing through his pedigree. When you look at them, that he's going to throw those traits, and that is exactly what he did. And your pedigree is going to help you know what your dog is going to throw, because you should see those traits passing from at least, if you got traits passing from 5 generations, your dog's going to throw that trait, whatever that trait is, especially if it's got it on multiple sides. You know what I mean? So when you can go back 5 generations and say, okay, my dog's got a big head, I'm going to go back 5 generations. And I'm going to look and I'm going to see. You start crossing off the traits that you like or the traits that you have or the traits that you could think of so that you know, because those traits that are consistent all the way through there, that's just a part of the blood of your dog. You know what I mean? And your dog's going to push that no matter what it goes to. So think about it along those lines. But you're 100% right in waiting until you see what your dog throws. And that's what we did. We started off with our own dogs. We did get hit by people that made offers for King, but we turned a lot of them down. Some of them we were willing to take because of the amount of money that the people were offering. But when it was all said and done, we ended up turning it down because we, one, couldn't get a good look of the females that they were talking about, or we didn't like the females that they were pushing, and we hadn't bred King. Now I can breed King to a German Shepherd. And if you say, oh, well, King throws longer fur than what a bully's supposed to have, I can say, no, he doesn't, because we bred him to our dogs. We can defend King and show you what it is King truly produces. He just threw longer fur this time because he didn't throw it. Your German Shepherd threw it. And you want to be able to back your dog up, especially in Facebook world, because you're going to have shit talkers. Let me try to catch some of the comments. I think I'm seeing all the ones from this page. Northern SL, I'll inbox you pics and peds of my breeding pair. No problem. Do that. And I'll take a look at it. Let's see, in Northern. So this one is being caught by Instagram. Okay, so one of you guys is, okay, so hopefully this one's being caught by the program, StreamYard. It looks like this one is too. So I think everything's on here. Terrence Foodog said no double dilutes when inbreeding. I think you're talking about color, if I'm not mistaken. Um, so explain what you're talking about, Terrence. And can I put that up here? No, it's not showing it. Let me see here. For some reason, it's grabbing some comments, not grabbing others. But if you're talking about dilutes, it depends because blue is a dilute. Uh, and we breed blue to blue all the time. But I'm not too sure. So, Terrence, if you can, definitely explain that, and I'll try to get back to it. Castro said, "Can a scatterbred dog produce consistency or produce consistently?" Yes, if his traits are consistent. So, if you've got a million dogs that are unrelated but all have big heads, their offspring are gonna be scatterbred but throw big heads. So you don't want to get lost in the whole. How should I say this? You got to remember when the pit. A lot of the rhetoric you hear in the bully game came from the pit game. In the pit game, you had a lot of people who didn't have the stomach for what the dogs were doing, and wanted to do something different with pit bulls, catch work, weight pull, different things like that. But you also have people who had the stomach for it but were unsuccessful at it. And a lot of the rhetoric that though was true, if you were truly speaking on the dogs, some of that rhetoric became sales pitches. So a lot of people in the 80s, 90s bought pit bulls based off of sales pitch. And a lot of that same rhetoric is what goes on in the bully community today. Has made its way into the bully community because some of them were breeding pit bulls and am staffs. But a lot of that rhetoric was used to sell a dog that was no good. Trust the blood. It's a true statement if you could trust the blood, but it was also a sales pitch for blood that couldn't be trusted. So it's made its way into the bully community when blood's not even an issue. We're talking about scatterbred studs and saying trust the blood. So when it comes to scatterbred dogs, if their traits are consistent, matter of fact, King is a scatterbred dog. That was one of the reasons we picked him. All of our dogs are scatterbred dogs. There's some tight line breeding and inbreeding done in their past, but for the most part, I would say the last 3-4 generations, all of our dogs are scatterbred. That is what we were looking for. But their traits and the pedigree is what's consistent. And as long as those traits are consistent that you're looking for, then your dogs are going to throw those traits. So there's blood, but then there's traits. Some blood throws some traits. Traits will throw as long as you're matching them correct, as long as they've been matched correctly and you can see them moving through the pedigree, then guess what? Your dog is going to throw those same things. You just need to make sure that he's bred to a female who's also, you know what I mean, that you're breeding also to a female that carries those traits. But there's a good chance that if you have a male and you go through his pedigree on his dad's side and it's throwing all this specific trait, you go to his ped on his mom's side and it's throwing this specific trait, and the dad and the mom bred together, they gave you your male. If you breed your male to another scatterbred dog, even if it doesn't have your male's traits, so let's say it's short muzzle, your male's going to throw short muzzles. Okay. Now, if you breed to a scatterbred dog, if you breed your short muzzle male to another scatterbred dog that has a long muzzle, your short male is going to throw his short muzzle on that scatterbred female, unless her long muzzle traits are passing through her pedigree. You get what I'm saying? So that's what you got to think about when it comes to those traits and scatterbred dogs. Let's see here. Someone else said Daryl Thor, Imba. Okay, we got that. Looks like it's kind of catching some comments, but not. If you get Embark and your bully comes back as part bulldog or mastiff, etc., would it be wrong to breed it? From what I understand, Embark is not is consistent, but not always right. Most of you guys are not. Some of you know. have a friend, Deontay, Devontae, I'm sorry, who started the clean exotic movement. He's an exotic breeder. He started the clean exotic movement, which was basically exotics that were healthy, could function, can live, swim. He's got some great exotics. I love them. He did an embark test on one of his dogs that he knew. It might have been the dad, but I'm gonna give Embark the benefit of the doubt, and I'm gonna say he knew that it was it was the grandfather. He knew for a fact that the grandfather of that dog was an English bulldog. When he did his Embark test, it didn't show up. People from the exotic world have done Embark tests and have come back with their dogs being American Bully. People from the American Bully world have come back with their dogs. They know nothing's been in it for 5-7 generations, and it's coming back other things: pit bull, Amstaff, American Bulldog, things like that. So I would say, yeah, if the dog has breed type and he's already registered as an American Bully, and you're looking at him and he's got American Bully breed type, then go along and do it, because if I'm not mistaken, the stud books are still open. And these dogs have bulldog in them. And when you're talking about XLs, they got mastiff in them. Guess what? Some of your standards have mastiff in them. All mastiffs were not extremely tall. When I was breeding Rottweilers, my Rottweiler was a tall dog. His uncle, though, was a short, stocky, muscled up, big head Rottweiler. The bully community would have loved him. Mitchell's a badass dog. But so, yeah, you know what I mean? Just because mastiff doesn't have to be droopy face. Look at the Presa Canario. Look at the Cane Corso face versus the Presa Canario face. Mastiff doesn't have to mean droopy face. But guess what? A lot of times we like to say, oh, they got the jowls from the Mastiff. He's got too much Mastiff in him. Bullshit. Go to the American Bulldog. A lot of them have jowls too, especially since we got Johnson, American Bulldog, and these dogs. So, the traits are there. I would say go ahead and do it. Let's see. Casper said, I wouldn't think it's wrong considering XL bullies definitely have more bulldog and mastiff bred into it. There you go. Casper said, as long as that percentage of bulldog and mastiff is low. And I agree with that. But I would judge the lowness of the percentage by what I see in the dog and that dog's, or Mr. J said it. Look at the dog. If he's got breed type, I don't see a reason in not doing it, especially when you got people. I mean, shit, ABKC is registering Merles now. We all know that Merles either came from the Alapaha or the Catahoula. They definitely didn't come from the wild dogs of Africa. We were crazy if anybody was using Australian dogs, herding dogs. So more than likely, they came from the Alapaha or the Catahoula when we're talking about XLs. And that's why you get some of these XLs that are extremely lean Merles and they're running around herding your kids and stuff like that. But think about it along, those lines. So ABKC's taking the Merle in, and, people are going to say, oh, well, it can come from the English Bulldog or it can come from the bullshit. The Alapaha is not an old breed, especially the Merle and the Alapaha. So the Merle in these dogs came from them being bred to another breed within the last 5 generations. So, they're willing to do it. I say go for it. Just make sure it's got breed type. Let's see. Somebody says, so if you use the same stud on 2 different females, can you then breed the half sister, half brother? What's your take? Yes. And because what you've done, it's a line breeding, but you've opened the blood up because you've got the moms are, even though the father is related, the moms are unrelated. And that is usually the best way to go about doing, a lot of especially your distant line breedings. But you can definitely do that. It's a great move to do. Again, you want to make sure that you're still fixing flaws and not just using dogs because they're the only dogs you have access to. Let's see here. Castro said it could definitely be an issue for purists. The problem with let me read the rest. I wouldn't mind if my dog had part mastiff in it as long as that breed's DNA doesn't interfere with the dog's health in a negative way. A lot of times with bully purists, they're pushing a rhetoric. They're not true purists, a lot of them. because if their friend does whatever it is they're against, then they don't say anything against about it. But if you do it, they've got 1,000 comments. So these people, a purist is somebody that just doesn't budge no matter who it is and who it's for. And I don't really see too many bully purists um, in the bully community. So if you get somebody that's talking trash about whatever it is that you just done, like I said, it goes back to the ethics that we were talking about before. But I don't see too many purists. What I see is people who are pure so that they can make a comment, say something negative. Because if you're a purist, you should be pushing and promoting what it is you're pure about. But you're only a purist when you're against something, then you're not really a purist. You're just somebody that's talking shit. Because 9 times out of 10, their close friend is doing the same thing that you're doing, and they're not saying anything about it. And I've seen people that come off as bully purists, and they're doing terrible breedings. And so this bully world is there's not too many purists in it. And the breed is still forming and evolving somewhat. It's slowing down a little now, which is a good thing. But there's not too many purists in it, and if they are, they're probably falling behind the scale and trying to get everybody back to what it is they've got in their yard. But most purists is just a bullshit rhetoric somebody's feeding. Let's see. Someone else said, I'm learning everything I can. Love all the knowledge you dropped, Daryl Thrower. No problem. It's not showing who you are, and I'm trying to use one screen. Let me see. But man, thanks for joining in. That's the most I could say with that. But thanks for joining in, and I definitely appreciate it. And you are definitely welcome. Casper Facts 100. Casper said, when breeding blue to blue, have you run into any skin conditions? Yes. Noticed them more back in the day. You can breed blue to blue if you. One of the things that blue gray line up in the 90s and 2000s was there were a lot of dogs that were blue. They were blue dogs, and a lot of them could be bred blue to blue without skin issues. So you just need a blue dog that doesn't have issues, and then that's how you want to make sure you're doing those breedings. So speak to the owners of those dogs before you purchase pups and before you do breedings. But yes, it is possible. Back in the day, we used to not believe it. We thought blue to blue, you couldn't do it. Same thing they thought with white, and then people started doing it, and we realized we were wrong. Health, temperament, confirmation, and structure. Those are the most important things. Somebody said, big up DT. Not sure who that is, but big up to you too. What's up? Let me scroll through some of the comments. I wish this would show all of everything. Let me see. Northern Edge. Robert said TBKC still around. I think they're getting ready to get going again. Yazir said relaunch is okay. We saw that one. Terrence said no double dilutes. Okay, so I'm waiting on Terrence's comment on that. Let's see. Ryan Barber. So it's not showing me all the comments, and I shouldn't have closed out that one screen. So if I miss your comments, I do apologize. I will make sure next time I don't. Who claim, let's see, what about breeders who claim bone and dome on pups that are barely 6 to 8 weeks old? Before I read the rest of it, what I will say is most of them are full of shit, but some people know their blood. So they've got history of that's what they produce, and then all of a sudden they breed a pup that has got a big head, and it tends to be larger than the last big-headed pups that they've been dealing with, and they're probably correct. So you want to see a track record when somebody's talking to you about a 6 to 8 week old pup. But again, a lot happens. Would I commit to breeding to that 6 to 8 week old pup? Hell no. Let's see here. Then someone else, still on Ryan, he said, I don't think you can really see structure on these young pups, especially on the XL compared to, let's say, the Pocket. I agree 100%. But again, if I know what I typically get, then my pups can help me have an idea of what it is that I'm going to get. Let's see. Okay, so Terrence made one comment. He said no double dilutes when inbreeding. Then Terrence came back and he said immune system systems probably on zombie puppies. Achilles, double dilute. He can't breed to a try. Okay, I get what you're saying. He's champagne stable and care. Terrence knows all that genetic color stuff that I don't know nothing about. And when we do, like we did get a Merle, female off of Woodland. I think she's 9 or 10 months old right now. Now, Terrence, why is your comment not showing up on this screen so I can post it? Because that would be a great comment to put up here, but it's not letting me. So, but see, Terrence has knowledge of that stuff that I have not yet taken the time to really look into. When I think of color, I think of a one-time thing. So, like I was saying, we have a female, Mia, that is off Mia XL. She is off of Woodland and Tootsie from Baby Bullies, and we're not planning on that breeding being a foundation within our yard. So I don't really get into the whole color thing too much unless I just see something I like, we go for it, and then that's that. So even like we just produced a litter off a king that's all black. We kept one of the black males. But we love his structure. We love his build so far. He's only 9 weeks old, but we love what we're seeing from him. And I'm not gonna lie, we love his energy. His energy, the drive within this little puppy is dope. So it's just great that he happens to be in a black suit. But if you're gonna get into the colors, you definitely are going to have to study the colors, study the genetics, how they go together. So Terrence is telling you something I didn't know, so I'm gonna say it again, read it again. Immune systems problems and zombie puppies. Exactly, your color issues issues with color typically come from the immune system. Merle is outside of the immune system, but when you have skin issues, typically is immune system. Diluted colors come from the immune system. But then he goes on to say, A-chills, I think I'm saying that right, double dilute. Dilute, you can't, and I can barely see. I need to put on glasses, but I'm not putting on glasses in front of y'all because y'all ain't gonna be making fun of me. Double dilute, he can't breed to a try. So now that, I don't know why he's saying that. I don't know genetics well enough, but he's telling you right there. He said he is champagne sable and carrier Eurogyro. Both can't inbreed him to sister or offspring with same gene. It's the reason he's closed. Bam. So that's okay. So Achilles double dilute. He can't breed to a try. Okay, so Achilles is a double dilute. So let's do this over. Achilles is a champagne sable and carrier of Eurogyro. So therefore, Achilles can't inbreed to a sister or offspring of the same gene, and that's the reason he has them closed. Bam, I get exactly what you're saying. So then he said, I have 4 sisters, 1 brother, 1 haven't got a male yet. So Terrence has the understanding of, colors and how they work. I don't really have, the understanding of colors and how all that works together, but that's good to know. And now everybody, let's put Terrence on blast. Terrence Food Dog Banks is somebody that you can go hit up when you got questions on colors. As a matter of fact, I'm going to probably do a live. I'm going to bring some people who have an idea of colors so that we can talk about that and get a lot out there, and I can get some of my own questions out there. Castro said, are there any known health problems for lilac-colored dogs? Other than lilac being a dilute, I would say most of the health problems that you're going to have that I've heard tend to be immune system issues, which are the same ones that you have in blues, all your lighter colored dogs. And think about it this way. Dogs only come in 2 colors, black and red. So everything from there is a dilution of those 2 colors. Now, I have had somebody say, in black and red, which they consider or a liver, but everything comes from those colors. Everything is a dilution from those colors. The more you have dilutions the more you're weakening the immune system of the dog. And that's why you start to get allergies and skin issues and things like that. That tends to be the first thing that's affected. So what tends to happen is the immune system's weak, then it affects the colors. But you can still take those colors and breed to strengthen the immune system. And that's the problem a lot of people have is they get these colors. There happens to be a weak immune system because they've diluted the gene. You've diluted the color in it. It also affects the skin. Because it affects the skin and the dog's got a weak immune system, it then shows even worse on the skin. So if a dog's black and has a weak immune system, it may not show as much and it may go away before it shows. If the dog is blue, he's got weaker skin, therefore it's going to show. One of the reasons they didn't like breeding blues and merles in the pit game was due to the fact they felt they didn't heal as well. Now, we know the blue paw terrier that a lot of the gypsies were fighting tended to do fine. But for whatever reasons, when they got bred to other dogs and he had immune issues, they had skin issues. So therefore, people wanted some of the traits from the blue paw terrier as far as his temperament, his drive, and his gameness, but they didn't want the skin issues that sometimes popped up. So that's something to think about. And when it comes to it. So though the immune system and the skin are two, and the color of the dog are two different things, the color is diluted and it affects the skin. The immune system, if it's weak, it affects the skin. When you get those two things together, you start getting your rashes and things like that. So if you got blue dogs, breed to blue dogs and you want blue, then breed to dogs that don't have blue dogs that don't have skin issues and can eat whatever they want. If you got to eat something specific, then that means there's a problem. Let's see. The connection of dilute colors and skin issues are more breeding practice than actual color causing the issue. Exactly. And that's exactly what it is. So, and that's why I say, if the if the color is diluted, then there is a slight issue because it's not as strong. That issue is coming from the skin and those things that make up the skin. The immune system's weak. It's going to typically show through the skin. Same thing with us. Our immune system's weak. So when you combine the two, you tend to have issues that are bigger than if you would have just had a dog with a strong immune system, but it's got a diluted color, or you got a diluted, or vice versa. Dog's got a solid color black, but has a weak immune system. When you put the two together, the two negatives together, you tend to get issues. You just got to breed away from it. Castro said, I know you're Jack Russell. You have a Jack Russell. I actually put her down about, it's been about a month. She was getting old and she developed cancer. A OFRM boxer cross and bullies. But have you ever owned a German Shepherd or Belgian Malinois? No. I have worked with German Shepherds in doing protection, perimeter protection, and also in just obedience and behavior. I've dealt with Belgian Malinois, but only in obedience. I've never gotten to work with some. I've never got to be hands-on with them as far as work and protection work. I will say with the Malinois, one of the reasons I prefer Mastiffs and Bull-bred dogs for protection work is I've seen where the Malinois, when pressure's applied, I've seen some kind of curl up a little bit. Whereas Mastiffs and Bull-bred dogs just keep on going, and the Mastiff gets more frustrated and angry and tends to go harder. The Bull-bred dog tends to stay in but adjust. But I've seen some Malinois cur in ways that I haven't seen. But they're so damn agile. It's a beautiful dog. I love them. Someone else said, people breed for color only and end up using dogs that have a compromised immune system. That's exactly what happens. Can you explain diluted color? I'm not following. Okay, so blue will say, so white is the absence of pigment. White is actually not a color. White means there is no color. So as you get lighter and lighter, you're losing pigment. Pigment doesn't just give you color; it also has to do a lot with ear development. Has a lot to do with eye development. That's why merles, especially if they're got the merle pattern around the eyes and ears, tend to have issues with their hearing and with their sight, and it's due to there's no pigment that was there that was supposed to be assisting that development. So when you say a diluted color, blue is a diluted black. Um, well, it's gray, really. I mean, these dogs aren't blue; it's just gray. So it's just diluted. So that's what we mean by diluted. Every color you see in dogs, you have black or the original color, black, um, red, or liver are the original colors of dogs, and everything from there is diluted versions of that. So it's just that it's getting lighter and lighter all the way till you get to your lilacs, your merles, and things like that. Um, Bully Bread, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Let's see here. Mr. J says, since we're talking ethics, what is your top 3 or 5 list of unethical practices? I would say in the bully community, dogs that, all the way from exotics to XL, breeding dogs that aren't able to breathe correctly is my number one. When you open your dog's kennel and it's already panting, and a lot of people will lie, oh well, I had him doing this bullshit. You're lying. Your dog pants 23 hours a day. But dogs that are panting, they wake up, they're panting already. Those tend to be lesser intelligent dogs and less healthy dogs. So I would say breeding, my number one would be breeding dogs that can't breathe well. They're constantly panting. Every time you see a video of that dog is standing still, has not been doing nothing, and is panting. My second issue, I would say, is overfeeding these dogs so that you can claim their whatever weight they are. But hold on, did you say breeding ethics? Okay, just ethics, yeah. So the overfeeding. Most people know you want your pups to be as lean as possible, and then 6 months, some of what you're looking for will come in. A year, some of what you're looking for will come in. They'll get there. Their genetics will kick in. You just want to make sure you're increasing their food as they grow, but you shouldn't be stuffing them. Which goes to my third issue. People that stuff these puppies so that they look cute in pictures and video for the internet. You're messing up their pasterns. You're messing up their hips. That's another issue I have. Number 4, what would I say? My number 4 issue, and it's probably my number 1, is people who claim they breed for temperament just because they breed lazy dog to lazy dog. That's not breeding for temperament. They have no understanding of drive, and because their dog has not eaten any babies, then they claim that they're breeding for temperament, or you can guarantee get great temperament from me. Nah. To me, temperament, when you breed for temperament, that means I can breed my dog to a dog with bad temperament and get good temperament. That's what breeding for temperament is. It needs to be the first thing that you are achieving before you go into. And then again, you can go by traits to know that you've got it locked in. With Cardi Bull and with King, we know though the 2 dogs are totally unrelated, they come for it. And you can think, now we're going to do our own version of locking it in when we take King to justice. And then we bring that together to be 2 times King. And we know we'll be locking that in. People who saw King and with his son at the Cinco de Mayo show can vouch for it. If your dog was barking and growling at them, they didn't bark and growl. They didn't tuck their tail either. They just sat there focused, looking at your dog till you got control of your dog, and then they kept on walking. So that's the thing we're looking for is confidence in our dog. But we're breeding for a specific temperament. So when you say When you say I'm breeding for good feet, we know that that's specific. We know what that means. When you say I'm breeding for a big head, that's specific. We know what that means. People will say that they're breeding for temperament, and nobody knows what the hell they're talking about. We just know that they didn't bite their last owner, but that's not breeding for temperament. Temperament is made up of drives. So what drives and what threat, and then drives, temperament is made up of a bunch of drives. Each of those individual drives is made up of different thresholds. So you can't say that you're breeding for temperament unless you're testing your dog's drive in each of and the threshold in each of those various drives. That is something my cousin and I are heavy on when it comes to our dogs. And we start before their eyes even open. We're watching that pup temperament just to see how it's responding when it gets pushed. If I roll it over, how does it deal with it? And we take it on from there. And we're thinking about that in every single breeding. There are dogs that we are not breeding. We showed the dogs that passed our temperament test because we pushed them. King, I'm not going to lie, we had him out in Arkansas. He spent a year out there. We have a property that's in the middle of the woods. And when we saw him running off, and there's no fence to it. It's like 2.5 acres. There's no fence. There's no going to the neighbors. When we saw that he was willing to not go to the neighbor's area, stay within his area, we thought that was good. When coyotes, there was a pack of young wolves. I couldn't never tell if they were, I don't think Aaron was able to tell if they were male or female. Well, they had to have been some males in it, but you could tell they were young. King would run them off the property. Bear kept scratching up the Suburban that we have out there. King would run them off the property. He ended up getting to the point where he was allowed to drift into the neighbor's property who had sheep they had goats and they had cattle. Well, King would drift over into their property and he wouldn't do anything. So there was something about King that understood when it came to wild animals and predators, they're not supposed to be here. But King got to the point by the time he hit about a year and a half, where he would guard both properties from any wild animals that came onto the property. And that first 6 to 12 months, he had a Corso with him. The other thing is when King would run these animals off, he would run them past the tree line and he would stop and he would make his way back. So these are different things. So by the time we brought him back to California, we knew he had been through the gauntlet. This was good. Now, he never got into a fight with any of these animals, at least not that we know of. But he did good with it, running off coyotes, wolves, mountain lion, bear, whatever. They would take off running off past the tree line and he would stop. Every now and then they would hit the tree line, turn around back to follow him, and he would just sit there barking at them. But they wouldn't come back out into the field where he was, and he wasn't going back to past the tree line. But if they scurried past the tree line and didn't stop running, he came right back to the house. That's temperament testing. What we've done with Cardi Bull, me seeing how far I can push her when it comes to conditioning, how hard can she go? That's what we're looking at when we breed for temperament. Same thing with the females. King is a more laid back dog. He's one of those that when it's time to go, then I'll get up and I'll go. Justice and Cardi, and so far all of our females are more, let's go. They're constantly asking for something to do. So we're creating, you look at the offspring that we got from, our King's first production, they tend to have a good balance of that. We rolled the dice, but still kind of knew we were going to get a good balance of that. So that's one of my other pet peeves is now a fifth one that I would say is bad ethics. I'm going to go ahead and say it. Breeders that are unwilling to compromise. And I'll just say breeders. Breeders, one, that don't tell about their dogs either because they don't know about their dogs, or will sell a dog to just anybody. They're unwilling to compromise. People, we all know deposits are supposed to be unrefundable, but people go through things. You know what I mean? And I would hate to sell somebody a dog, tell them that the deposit's unrefundable, which is in the contract. That's cool. And then all of a sudden something happens in their life and now I'm not willing to refund them their $500 because it's all I'm focused on is the contract. And you have people in this community that are like that. That's a pet peeve to me. Because, and yeah, granted, the person could be lying to you. That's true. But you shouldn't be so hard up on your money, and you shouldn't be so hard up to sell dogs that even if the person's telling you the truth, you're just have made yourself so robotic that you're unwilling to refund their money because you don't want to lose that $500. You know, I look at it like this. Um, we still have yet to sell a dog on, we haven't, we've had possible clients come to us for dogs on Facebook. We have one person that we met through Facebook or Instagram or whatever else. But most of the people are people that just know us for dogs. You know, whether it was breedings I've done, breedings my cousins have done outside of bullies. So when we said we were getting into bullies, we had to explain to those same people what we were doing and that we would make sure that these dogs fit the criteria that they're looking for. Now, if they came to me looking for a catch dog, I couldn't guarantee them that. You know, I don't know that yet till we see it. We've got a couple that look like they'd be promising, but they haven't done the work. So I can't guarantee that to my old clients. But to my clients and those who have come to me from word of mouth from those clients and have said, this is what I'm looking for. I heard this is what you breed. I have to be able to deliver that, but now deliver it with bullies. We are going to go ahead and get off here because we've been on here for what, an hour and 40 minutes. Let's see what else we got here. Damn near every one of our 17 dogs are dilute, and the only one that has skin allergies is our Vizsla. And see, and that's how you want to be. That's how you want it to be. Wait a minute, your Vizsla should be liver colored, right? Because I don't think that would be. I don't think that liver color is considered a dilute. It might be a dilute from red though, so you're probably right. But again, you know, that's how it should be. You can have diluted colors, but still have a strong immune system that doesn't show. Dilution is a genetic intensity modifier of the shade of the coat, basically making it a shade lighter. Bam. So there it's been explained. I think breeding for a more docile dog is selectively breeding for a specific temperament. It depends on what you call docile. Let me see if I can find who said that, and I'm not sure. I don't know why it's showing me some and not showing others. A more docile dog depends on what you mean by docile. When I think of docile, I think of lazy and I think of lack of confidence. It's almost submissive. And we are achieving that in bullies because nobody's really breeding for temperament like they claim they are. So, like I said, it depends on what you mean by the word docile. You know, humble and docile and words like that have varying definitions too, varying meanings based off who you're talking about. I personally don't want a docile dog. I want a dog that's going to stand its ground against anything, but I can still walk it and pet smart. It can meet other dogs. They can go to the dog park, have fun. I'm not a dog park dude, but I want to produce dogs that can. So far, I think even though I'm not into that, my cousin's not into that. The majority of our productions, we've gotten video of them at dog parks. So, you know, their owners are into that. Now, my previous breedings and my cousin's previous breedings, you can't take to no dog park. They're going to wipe the whole dog park out. But, you know, we into bullies now. So I think there is a certain room for docility. But I want a dog that is confident, and confident in even that if something happens, I can handle my business. That's what I want when I speak on it. Let's see here. Okay, that's you, Daniel. Daniel, he said, I don't know why my name isn't popping up. You know what, Daniel? I guess your comment is probably showing on Facebook, but I'm looking at it on StreamYard. So I'm trying to look at both to keep up with the comments. But yeah, if you guys can type your name in and then your comment. I should have said that earlier. Daniel has a huge understanding of genetics and color and how all that works. Mr. J said, thanks for hosting this and answering our questions. Always learn a lot. No problem, dude. Let me go over here, and then I'm going to try to wrap this up. Terrence said I have 4 sisters, 1 brother. Okay, we saw that one. Andrea said incorrect. The entire breeds that are dilute dogs like Weimaraner that have 0 issues associated with dilute dogs. So I'm not sure what she's saying is incorrect, but with the Weimaraner, that's a working breed. They have a stronger immune system. When you start to get to your, I don't call it any breed a companion breed, but when you start to get to your aesthetic breeds, they tend to get lower immune system. So therefore, when you bring diluted colors into it, you tend to have issues. Your Weimaraner, you're not going to have, more than likely not going to, we actually have a Weimaraner 2 houses down. You're not going to have issues with that diluted color because that is a working dog. They have bred those immune systems, they don't have an immune issue. So that's why you're not going to have they don't have an immune system issue. So therefore, you're not going to have an immune problem, even though it's a diluted color, like I explained earlier. So I'm not sure she's addressing saying incorrect to me or someone else. Then Andreas says dilute makes black into blue. Exactly. Makes chocolate into chocolate. I don't know what that means. And then she said DD does not double up and no, it has nothing to do with immune systems. I don't know who she's talking to, but when it comes to immune system is what governs the effects of it, which I kind of explained earlier. If you have the reason blue dogs had issues was because, one, it's a diluted color, which affects the skin. If they've got a weak immune system, then it tends to have a higher effect on blue-coated dogs than it does on a black dog. So when you put the two together, dilution and weak immune system, that's where you get your issues that we see quickly. There are dogs that have low immune systems, but if you don't know that dog, you'll never know it, especially if that dog is black or red or not from a diluted color. The pit bull world, they tended to notice immune system issues because after fights, their dogs started to get infections easier than most of their other dogs. But those dogs could still fight. They could still but if they were bred to blue dogs, it made these issues even worse. Because now not only are you taking a weak immune system, you're also bringing in a diluted color. And that diluted color is not just the color on the fur, it's the skin that fur is coming from. Let's see. Terrence said, I can't run Achilles through the marsh. You know what, Terrence, it's funny you say that. We had an issue. King got a yeast issue on his paws. Ran through water. This was years ago. Ran through water. And that was when he came out of it, it was like you could see like a film on him. And my cousin rinsed him off, washed it off, but he didn't get to him until after work. So he didn't know anything about it, but it sat there on King's skin. So my cousin filmed it up, washed it off and everything, put some apple cider vinegar and peroxide on it. But you could still see the scarring. If you look at some pictures of King from here down, you'll notice where he still has old scarring from when that incident took place. So it was like he already had the yeast issues, which my cousin was about to fix, and then he ran through that water. And I want to say something, they even did something with that water to clean that whatever it was going on up, because it was in Arkansas, it's affecting a lot of things. But if you look at King, especially, I have a picture I took of King where he's standing on a rock and he's his head and chest, and in that picture the scarring stands out because he just ran through another river. But this was a clean river I had him in a couple weeks ago. But so it stands out even more. But it did leave, like, from him getting the yeast infection in between his toes, and then that water getting into his skin, it didn't heal correctly like it normally would have healed. And you can see it. Now I do got one more idea to fix that, but we'll see. Andrew said the only patterns that have any connection to health issues are extreme white and merle due to lack of pigment. It's kind of true, but it's kind of not. Because if a dog's not supposed to be a certain color, if the species is not supposed to be a certain color, then you're gonna have a health issue. You're just hoping that nothing causes the issue. But there's gonna be something, there's gonna be some type of issue. So when you get to these diluted colors that happen to happen, and then you start breeding these diluted colors to each other, especially when you stop working those dogs, then those issues are going to start showing up. So that I get what you're saying, but that's not necessarily true. And I think everybody has to remember, from when it comes to dogs, there's two rules that you have to live by. One is form follows function, which we all hear, but that's just an architecture term. It's true, but it's just an architecture term. Form follows function, but function follows purpose. Purpose follows the breeder. The other rule that you have to remember when it comes to dogs is mind follows body and body follows mind. And that goes all the way down to the toenail, to the hair, to that one hair follicle, to the ear, to the breath that the dog takes and how he takes in that breath. When you start trying to separate things and pretend that they don't have nothing to do with each other, that tends to be what you get from people who are into looks and show rings and things like that. And that's not knocking the show ring, but that's the only time I hear that type of thought process, that something has nothing to do with something, not something else. It's all connected. It's all one body. People tend to talk like that to make excuses for what it is they choose to do. Now, don't get me wrong. I want to get involved in the whole color thing. I think there are some beautiful colors. I just don't see color when I see a dog. I just don't. I see, and people say, oh, I don't see color when I see people. That's a lie if I say that. We all see it. You know what I mean? But I can definitely say when I see a dog, I don't see color unless you say, look how beautiful that blue is. You know what I mean? I think one of the first colors that I remember ever recognizing was blue, because I didn't like the blue pit bulls until I came across some of the gray line dogs in the 90s. You know, if you said what color is a Rottweiler, I could tell you it's black. But what color is a black lab? I could tell you it's black. But when I see a black lab, I don't see color. When I see a Rottweiler, I don't see color. I see the look of the overall structure and silhouette of the dog. And then after that, all I see is what they can do. That's it. You know, what's he capable of? What can he do? Let's see. Not a lack of pigment, doesn't double up. Oh, that's all. So as you can see, Andrea does know a lot about the genetics, but I don't think you can, when it comes to color. She'll say, I wouldn't want my dog eating any babies. Just saying. Well, no, none of them should. You should be able, some of your gamest dogs never attack kids. I know dudes in the 90s that had extremely game dogs. Matter of fact, I can think of one now by the name of Coco that used to get in trouble all the time because she was constantly jumping into the crib with a homie of mine's back then's baby. But Coco was a proven game dog. But as far as kids, she loved kids. So people get that thing mixed up. Best example I like to give when it comes to that is I had a female by the name of Kayla. I got into breeding bull lurchers, and that's just crossing greyhounds and whippets to pit bulls, and using them for coyote hunting, some rabbit hunting more for practice, but predominantly for coyote hunting. Kayla was an extremely intelligent dog. One of the greatest things that Kayla ever did was she had been killing coyotes on her own, killing raccoons on her own, killing bobcats on her own, rabbits on her own. She would catch a rabbit. She would run down rabbits that she would see at night. We'd have a spotlight. She would run them down, catch one, snap his neck real quick while she was running. Drop that one while it's flopping on the ground, run, catch the next one, kill that one, bring that back, and then she'd come back to us with 2 rabbits. Yeah, one day, and I've told this story before, my daughter's hamster, and this is what I mean about breeding for intelligence, breeding for cognition. I'm not saying that I can breed this again because that would be extremely difficult, but it's possible. So one day, I have my daughter. I used to have to get up early to go to work. Put my daughter's hamster in the garage. She was making too much noise. Whatever I did caused the hamster to be able to get out. It got out the garage, got in our front yard. That morning, I let the dogs out. Let out Kayla, and she came scratching at the door. And Kayla never used to scratch at the door to get in. Um, so I'm wondering why she's scratching at the door. So I opened the door, and there she is standing. She's got my daughter's hamster in her mouth. I thought it was dead. She put it down. It was unharmed. She knew there was a place and a time. The average dog knows there's a place and a time. Unless what we do is we start breeding them stupid. And when you start lowering drives in dogs, rather than knowing what drive it is that you're lowering, you start creating dumb dogs. And so next thing you know, you got this guy's got a dumb dog, but he likes this guy over here who's got an aggressive dog that's also dumb. And then but he likes the size of the head of that dog, and they breed them together. And the next thing you know, you got stupid and you got aggression mixed together. And it's a ticking time bomb. So no dog should be attacking children. They should understand their home. But at the same time, to prevent that from happening, we shouldn't have to breed stupidity. And when you lower drives, that's what you end up causing is stupidity, because there's various drives that make up the temperament of each of these dogs. Let's see. I'm gonna try to wrap this up. We're nothing wrong with breeding towards a low prey drive dog. Low prey drive for what though? Why? Because your dog should be able to go to the dog park and still have a high prey drive. You can have a lower prey drive, but why are you want him to get along with squirrels? Like what? Why are you breeding for a low prey drive? Because my Kayla had an extremely high prey drive, but she didn't kill my daughter's hamster because she knew it belonged to the house. My Jack Russell had an extremely high prey drive. She would have killed that hamster, I'm not going to lie. But they went to dog parks and were perfectly fine at dog parks. So they got along with other dogs. They got along with people. So when you say you want to, nothing wrong with breeding towards a low prey drive, you need to understand drive well enough so that, Andrea, you know what comes with that. When they created this Staffordshire Bull Terrier out of the pit bull and bred out gameness, what was one of the things that started happening more? You have more people getting attacked. Where you didn't have that when you had the game dogs. It happened every now and then. Matter of fact, I think one of Colby's dogs attacked his son or nephew. But for the most part, these game dogs were had a very docile temperament to man and the human touch. The reason why was so that they could be in the heat of combat, and that combat could still get broken up without the dog turning and biting someone. Because if the dog bit someone, then a lot of times you was going to lose your bet depending on where the fight was taking place. So that's the attitude that was bred into these dogs. What the AKC and all the AM staff people didn't take into account, and Colby didn't care. He was a great salesman, a great marketer, and a great pitcher. He's probably sold more pit bulls back then than anybody. And that's why a lot of true dogmen didn't like Colby. But when it came to the AM staff, they bred out gameness, and what they didn't realize was they also bred out that ability for man to be able to touch you and handle you and not get bit in the heat of combat. Luckily for the AM staff, because of being a bull bred, they still have that focus if it does a fight. So I'd much rather break up two AM staffs fighting than two golden retrievers, because they don't release their bite. They like to stay locked on that bite. But so when you just say low prey drive, why would you breed low prey drive into a predatory animal? To me, that means you should be owning goats or guinea pigs or something like that, because prey drive is what causes your dog to chase a ball. Why would you want low prey drive? Why would you want a dog that when you throw the ball, he goes after it slow and brings it back even slower? I want my dog to chase that ball full speed, bring it back full speed, and be able to play with other dogs. Prey drive has nothing to do with your dog's ability to get along with other dogs. Andrew said we're achieving docile dogs and bullies because it's what we want. Okay, but it depends on what you mean by docile And I don't think too many people know what they want. I think a lot of you say that, but you don't really know what it is you want. You just think docile covers this whole spectrum, because what you're not also under, do you want dumb dogs? Because that's what you're going to end up achieving if you keep going that route. You need to know what temperament. The ABKC gives you a standard for temperament. Tells you exactly what the dog should be. There are drives associated with each of those descriptions of what the dog should be. So they need to either go up or they need to go down. That's what the threshold is all about. You need to study dogs so that when you do your breedings, you don't have to just make a docile dog. Because then when you're just creating, eventually that docility turns into stupidity. So what you need to do is know what drive. When the ABKC says dog is not, now I can't even think of how it goes, but look at everything that it says in there. Matter of fact, you know what, let's go ahead and Google this. And I know I was going to get off here. Actually, I'm going to get off here. But look at the ABKC temperament standard and ask yourself what drives are affiliated with that. And then let me know what prey drive has to do with any of those things that the ABKC is talking about. If you want to know, I can tell you, which I've done on lives before, exactly what drives are associated with what they're talking about and where they need to be. Even when it comes to the UKC standard, which is slightly different when you look at what they're expecting compared to what the ABKC is expecting when it comes to temperament. You're allowed a little bit more drive based off what the UKC is telling you, because they're letting you know that the dog should be able to perform, should be able to compete. So therefore, they're expecting a little more in temperament. But it's still we're achieving what we want. First of all, who's we? That makes no sense. And then secondly, when you say we don't know enough about temperament and the drives that make up temperament and the thresholds within those drives to be able to say we are accomplishing anything. It kind of just sounds like a general statement. Andrea says it's fine to want to learn about color. It's probably a good idea to study up before speaking on it. I agree 100% for people who make that their topic. If you're going to make color your topic, then you definitely want to study up on it. Me, I prefer, since I'm not into color and I don't really give two shits about it, if I'm going to speak on color, I would have somebody who knows on with me. And so I'll probably do that with Daniel or somebody that I know really knows, truly knows it. Then Andrew says, drive to please is fine to breed toward. That's called purpose drive. But you have to know how to do it, because you're just kind of generalizing. You need to stop thinking that a dog has to have prey drive to be a good dog. I never said that. Actually, I think you like to just come on and talk shit. I'm going to end up blocking you, Andrea. And you know, for a long time, I've been trying to avoid doing it. But I'm trying to say this respectfully. You don't know enough to talk to me. You know enough to ask questions. You know enough where you and I can have a conversation. But when you take your knowledge and what's even worse about it, your desire to troll, you don't have the knowledge to troll. And I'm not going to speak on something that I don't know about. So to try to pretend I am, even when you brought up, don't speak on color. I'm not sure if that was aimed at me, but I'm assuming it was. It doesn't, you're just trolling, you know? So I'm going to have to block you. We're going to go ahead and end the live. But Andrea, study drives. I've got a couple lives where I talk about drives and I break them down. Study drives and understand that you don't have when somebody speaks on drive, don't try to lump them into I don't even know what you said. Try to lump them into what you think about drives, because you don't have enough understanding for you to speak on drives. You understand drives less than I understand colors and the genetics of colors. So study drives so that you realize you can get that couch potato but still have a dog that got some gumption and can protect the home. But a lot of you guys are breeding docile dogs and there's no true purpose in it. But we've been on 2 hours and 3 minutes, and I've been promising the live is going to only be an hour for those who try to catch them later, because that's the majority of the crowd. Remember, check us out on YouTube, Thor Bullies. Check Thor Bullies out on Instagram. Also, join the Giant American Bully Group if you're watching from somewhere else. Giant XL American Bully Group if you're watching from somewhere else other than Facebook. And also make sure Fred Duran goes live on Mondays. Check out his lives. Danny Cervantes goes live on Wednesdays. Make sure to check out his lives. They do a lot more talking about the show ring and things like that, and judging, because they have a great understanding of that. And we're going to go ahead and sign out. And where is my sign out button? There we go. All right, y'all. Thanks for joining in.